Not
Hold up. This is going to be an ASMR moment.
beautiful.
Coffee.
I was actually having this thought a while ago that basically women complain about women in the women in men's trades, let's say, in like trades that are predominantly male, like all of them, trucking, welding,
Like all of them.
house building, like all the jobs that like build and are rough and just men's jobs. You know what I mean? Women are typically found more in offices, and they're nurses, and they're things that are more like office oriented and people oriented
is what it is, because men, if you have a biological a tendency to be interested in things, and that's a fact. And women have an interest in people. And in fact, I was reading an interesting statistic the other day that was saying that you would have to be in the 85th percentile of men interested in people to compete with just the average woman who's interested in people, and vice versa. You'd have to be in the 85th percentile of women to be interested in things as the average man is in things.
Yeah, so I'm definitely pretty 50-50. I'm interested in both. So like I really like things. I really like building things. I really like taking things apart, learning about things.
Yeah.
Like I'm very hands-on, but I'm also obviously interested in thoughts. I have a podcast. I want to know what's inside your brain. I want to talk to you about it. I want to know more about like why you are the way you are.
Yeah.
But where I was going with this wasn't necessarily like why women are more attracted to their jobs and why men are more attracted to men's jobs, but more why sometimes they can't necessarily work together all the time. And I was thinking about it, and it's like,
Wait. Your question that you had for yourself was why they can't work together?
a lot of women feel like they are discriminated against.
Ooh, this is about to be a dicey topic.
I actually have some interesting thoughts on both sides, but a lot of women feel like, they call it the glass ceiling. Like, oh, women can't go do this. Like a woman can do anything that a man can do, but they don't. Like, how many female truckers do you know?
Yeah,
I know like
I don't know a single one actually.
well, I know like 5, but
Really?
I also been trucking a little bit longer than you.
Yeah,
But
I never met one.
yeah, I know like 5, but but it's funny because all 5 of them, if you go kind of get to know them, they're all only truckers because 2 of them I know are truckers because their dads were both truckers and they grew up in a mechanic shop working on trucks with dad, very, very like kind of tomboyish.
Yeah.
And their dad 100% helped them get into it. It wasn't something they went and figured out on their own. It's like, no, I'm a trucker because dad was a trucker and maybe mom was even a trucker. And now I'm a trucker. But it's not like, oh, trucking makes a lot of money. I'm just going to go get my CDL. Like, women don't do it. They talk about it, but they never do.
Yeah.
But and then I know a couple. Yeah, pretty much every girl I know that is a trucker. They get into it because they have family already into it.
Yeah.
It's not something that ever just happens organically.
It's not something like somebody came from some little gal from Utah or something whose dad was a dentist, decided, I want to grow up and be a trucker.
Yeah, for real. There are a bunch of women bus drivers though, but that's probably just because it has more to do with kids and people, because you're transporting people. But actually, like over the road trucking and oil field trucking, it's a very solitary thing, and I think that women just aren't built for it. But where I was going is more the conflict when they do become drivers, or they do get into the oil field and they become like a pumper, and they get into any kind of oil field related position that you're dealing with predominantly other men in the workplace. A lot of times women get kind of like a bad rep because they're like, when there is controversy, the way women deal with controversy is completely different than the way men deal with controversy. And so women kind of get like this reputation, for lack of a better word, of being like, oh, she's a bitch, versus like a man, it's like, oh, he's an asshole, but you can still work with a man if he's an asshole. Whereas if a woman's a bitch, and I'm sorry I'm using the word bitch, but it's just the word.
Yeah.
You can't work with it. It's impossible. And I realized why is because women tend to be a lot more passive aggressive, and men tend to be more openly aggressive and more physically aggressive, I should say.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like if you have a problem with a guy, you guys just start yelling at each other, and it's like, hey, he's an asshole, but fuck it.
Yeah,
You know,
you'll
I'll
have a
work it.
guy get up in your face and scream at you and just
Oh,
fucking
wave wrenches in your face.
Yeah, he'll get right up to you and he's ready to throw down, and he'll say, "I'm gonna fucking kick your ass, you fuck."
Yeah.
And then you'll yell at him, but then like what? As long as you don't get your ass physically beat, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
That guy. Next day.
Well, I also think
a week later,
I think
you're
it's
gonna be
because
fine.
if you were to have that same interaction with a woman, you'd feel so out of place. Like you're not gonna go fight a woman. You know what I mean?
Well, not only you're not going to fight a woman, but like that would, like a woman wouldn't know how to deal with that. She would be like, "Oh my God, I need to get a hold of HR immediately."
Yeah, I need to call the cops.
Yeah. I'll tell you a couple stories. I actually have stories about this particular thing because I had it out with a woman. I don't ever really fight with girls that much, but you know when I do, it's fucking like I cannot work with that person anymore. You know what I mean? For that reason. And like I've gotten in so many just fights and arguments and you know just had it out with so many different truckers in the oil field as time has gone on. And it's funny because I've had company men come and get within 8 inches of my face and literally scream in my face and say, "Are you fucking retarded?" You know, just fucking angry. And then, you know, as long as you don't get thrown off the job,
You're good.
you're good.
Yeah.
Just fucking do your
Was
job.
that when
good.
you ran over a wellhead?
No. That was that was a different thing. But I think when I ran over that wellhead, everyone kind of was like, "This is partially our fault. Like this isn't just his fault. Like that, they should have fucking maintained that site." But anyways, that's a different story. No, but yeah, but then that same guy, you come back the next day, and he might be a little bit like, "Oh, you doing your job?" But then like he's cool with you, like you're good after that. Whereas women, if you piss off a woman, a lot of times you don't know that she's pissed off, but she'll do other passive aggressive things behind your back. And like
call your boss. Or
call your
something.
boss, or like, you know, here's an example of a woman that I fucking hated working with. She was
Was that Kraken disposal?
Yes, the peg leg Peggy.
Yeah,
That
yes.
Latina chick.
My God.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I had a problem with her too, dog.
She was the worst. Okay, but here's the thing. So me and her kind of had it out, but we didn't even have it out. She asked me to go do something, but she was like consistently asking me to do the thing. Like she wanted me to go drain her sump, right? And we're on a barrel rate job. And so if I take time to go drain her sump, I'm not getting paid for it and I'm losing money that day. I'm basically doing her a favor. But she would ask me to drain the sump, even though like 2 guys would show up, they would both offload, and then it would be my turn. And as soon as I show up, she's like, "Hey, can you drain the sump?" And I'm like, "Why didn't you ask one of these guys to do it? I did it for you yesterday. I did it for you the day before. You know, we have to drain this about once every day. Like, have one of these other guys do it." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she got pissed about it, and so she started getting passive aggressive and started, you know, other stuff started going on. Like I'd show up to the disposal to offload, and there'd be a guy offloading, and she'd be like, "Hey, we have high levels right now. Don't offload. Just wait until I come get you." And so I'd be sitting there waiting for 20 minutes. And then as soon as another guy shows up in the other lane, she'd be like, "Okay, now both you guys can offload." It's like, what do you mean? I've been sitting here waiting for 20 minutes to offload, and now you're letting us both offload at the same time? Like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, stuff like that where it kind of fucks you up and you're losing money and it's a pain, and she doesn't ever outwardly come out and be like, "Hey, fuck you, buddy. Like, this is, you're a fucking piece of shit. We can't get over our problems, but now you have to work with this person that's passive aggressive towards you, and it just fucks you up." You know what
Dude,
I mean?
I had almost I wouldn't say the same problem, but with that same lady, okay? I was over at a Kraken. That's why I got fired off Kraken, because of her.
Oh.
I literally pulled onto the site, onto the disposal, and I'm offloading double hose offloading, right? Everybody was.
Yeah.
So I'm double hosing. The guy right in front of me did. And I'm double hosing offload, and she comes out and says, "Hey, what are you doing? You can't double hose offload." And I was like, "Oh, we can't?" Like, well, you know, that's news to me, because every single guy has been double hosing offload. I've been coming here for a month, you know, and that's the first I'm hearing about it. I'm sorry. And she's like, "No, I don't give a shit if everybody else does. Just because everybody else does doesn't mean that you can." And she's like, "That doesn't make it legal, and I'm running the site," and whatever, like immediately got mad. And I was like, "Hey, like my bad." And I went and disconnected one of my hoses, and I finished offloading with one hose. Mm-hmm. Well, after I leave, she calls up my boss and tells him that I made a spill. And I was like, "What on earth are you talking? I never spelt a single drop. Like just that one little interaction, because I gave her lip about double hosing.
Yeah.
And then so she blamed a spill on me. And I was like, send pictures, send some proof. I didn't spill a single quart of water. And I know that beyond a shadow of a fucking doubt. I didn't spill anything. So what's the deal? And I was pissed as hell. And anyways, my boss was laughing about it. Yeah, that lady gives all my drivers problems. She's been a pain in my ass or whatever. And he's like, don't worry about it. Whatever, it'll blow over. Just don't go to that disposal no more. So I didn't go to the disposal for like the rest of the day. Well, she ends up calling Kraken, the boss of Kraken. Instead of like even just my boss, she called the boss of Kraken and said, hey, I don't ever want to see Cole on my site again. Like, this kid made a spill and he didn't come back and yada, yada, yada. And I just don't want to see him out here no more. And so Kraken, instead of, they're so high up, they don't give a shit about a driver. You know what I mean? They just called David and said, hey, one of your drivers is out there giving lip to the lady. She's saying that he's giving lip to her. And just we don't want him working on our site no more. Just get him off.
It's so horrible, because like a normal guy would have come out and been like, he would have beat his chest, like,
yeah.
And just got pissed at you.
No, a normal guy would have gone out there and been like, hey, dude, what the fuck, buddy? Why are you double hosing offload? And if I would have been like, hey, everybody did, and if he was even angry about it, would have been like, hey,
you could literally get in a yelling match with the guy.
Which I have. I've gotten him with even disposal guys, and they're still cool about it, though. They're like, hey, I run this fucking show. Well, this is my site.
They'll yell at you. You leave. You come back the next day,
and they're cool.
And they'll be like, "Hey, I kind of lost my temper, but this is the problem. I fucking deal with this shit all the time.
Yeah,
please don't do." And then after that, it's almost like you have a better relationship. Because now you understand each other.
Exactly.
And now you understand. Now this guy feels like,
and you kind of get the rules. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, the night guy lets me double hose, but the day guy doesn't. I can't.
Yeah.
You start getting the rules, because that's how it works.
Yeah, and then forever after that, it's almost like you've kind of earned that guy's respect. Like if they could yell at you, get all their emotions out about whatever, and a lot of times it's not your problem. Like, you can't take everything personal, because sometimes people come out, get pissed over something small, and be like, "Ugh," and you just be like, listen, okay, you're being irrational, and you can just have it out with them. You can have an argument. It can get loud. It can get heated, and then you walk away, and then once they've had time to think about it, you'll come back, and as long as you overcome that, as long as you don't get fired right then and there, you're always going to be better friends after that. Like, almost 100%. Always, every time you get in a fight, you always have a better relationship with that person afterwards.
Interesting story I had with a driver, right? That's just on that exact topic right there. So there was this one driver I pulled onto a site, and we had to back in to load, right? Back up to the batteries to load. Well, it was a night shift, so I was backing in, and I left my brights on, right? And I'm sitting there waiting, and it was a high producer well, so you'd have to get in this big line, and you would wait for 6 trucks. There was constantly 6 trucks loading. Mm-hmm. So one of the drivers pulls out, so I back into his spot, and I left my brights on, and this other driver pulls onto site, and he's waiting in line, and you're waiting in line for like 30 minutes, and my brights are on, and I just completely forgot, but they're shining at him, right? Uh-huh. Well, he gets out of his truck. He walks over to my semi. He opens the door, dude, and just starts yelling every profanity in the book at me, right? I'm gonna fucking break your goddamn legs.
And it's not even your problem. That guy's having a bad fucking night.
I'm telling you the whole story here. He literally opens up, I'm gonna fucking break your goddamn legs. And he got so fucking pissed at me. And I was like, bro, I'm sorry. Like, shit, my bad. And I turn off my brights. At first, like, I was actually kind of scared. This dude was fucking pissed, right? And he slams my door as hard as he can, dude. I thought it was going to break the hinges. And that kind of got to me, though. Like, I was pissed. Like, fucking, you're hurting my truck. And he opens the door a second time, and he slams it again, right? He literally opened it just to be a cocksucker, and excuse my language. And he slams it again. I grabbed my pipe wrench that I had in the back, and I jumped out of the truck, and I said, touch my fucking truck one more time, and I'll break your goddamn knees. And with my waving a pipe wrench at him, let's go, motherfucker. And I was like, and I literally grabbed my pipe wrench at him. We just started yelling profound, like one of us make the move, right? Just had a standoff right there. And fuck you. And he walks back to his truck, right? Mm-hmm. And I left my brights on. I was like, fuck this guy. And I turned my brights back on. Well, I load up and I get out of there. And And I called David and I tell him that, hey, there's this guy out here who's just lost his fucking cool with me because I had my brights on, right? And he slams the fuck. I tell him the whole story. Well, he calls the company that he worked for. Shit, I forgot who it was, what trucking company it was, but they know the guy, and he's like, yeah, whatever. We're sorry about him, yada yada. They apologize on his behalf, and anyways, they said something because my next load I get over there, this guy comes up and he apologizes to me. Dude, hey, I'm so sorry about that. I lost my cool. My girlfriend just broke up with me, barely, and I swear I'm just having such a fucking bad day. I really apologize, man. Hope you can forgive me, and here's a peace pipe, dude. And he gives me a vape. And I was like, no, bro, I'm good. Like, I don't want your vape. And he was like, no, take it, man. Take it. It's a peace offering. And I was like, okay, fuck it. Cool, dude. But we ended up being good friends. Like after that little interaction, he just said he was sorry. Every time we saw each other on site, I respected him. I turned my fucking brights off after that. And he'd pull up, say hi, how you doing, dude? What wells you running? And we were good buddies.
Here's the thing. That's such a common interaction.
I know.
And you have to be careful with those because obviously sometimes those go fucking like hardcore south. And like that could have ended with one of you guys,
breaking each other's kneecaps.
No, like literally ended up, one of you guys could have killed the other person. When things escalate, that could go south. So you don't want that to happen. But normally when it does happen, it always ends up with you being friends with that guy.
Yeah.
Or being on good terms. I've had that same, and I avoid the fuck out of that interaction because that's just not worth it ever. But I've had that enough times to know that, like, oh yeah, obviously you're going to be friends with that guy afterwards. That's just how it works with men. Like the guy you have it out the worst with, as long as he's not passive aggressive, you always end up being. Same thing with one of the EOS drivers. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know exactly who I'm talking about. I had it out with him. Same thing. Fucking screaming match. We're going to kill each other. We're fucking on fire. And to this day, it's like years and years later, it's funny because the next time I saw him after that, I had like a blown tire and he came and patched my tire and helped me out. And it's like, hey, let's go to the gas station. Let me buy you a coffee. Let's eat some breakfast together. Let's hang out. And every time I see him, I didn't see this guy for like a good 2 years, and I see him for the first time in 2 years. He's just super happy. How you doing? Hands me a Red Bull, just like wants to be my, because like forever after that, like we're fine. But that's how men are, and it's not great to lose your cool with somebody. Ideally, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
It happens more often in the oil field than it should because so many guys are dealing with so much stress. A lot of them are away from their families. They're working 12 to 20 hours a day. A lot of these guys don't run less than 16 hours a day. They're sleeping in their trucks. They're eating shitty food. They're stressed out of their fucking minds. And so it does come to a head way stronger in the oil field, especially in trucking, than anywhere else because it's such a competitive thing, especially on those big barrel jobs where you have 50 trucks and they're all rushing to make as many loads as they can that day to make money. But everyone's dealing with their bullshit, and that's like the ugliest men get. And the worst is when it gets completely out of control. Like I've seen guys
actually throw down.
I've seen guys throw down. I've seen guys. I've showed up. No, I've never actually seen it happen. But one time I showed up at a disposal where one guy fell asleep in line, and another guy went and
I was in that same line.
Drove in front of him. And the guy that fell asleep woke up while the other guy was offloading in front of him, and he fucking came out with a bat and started or a wrench or something, started bashing this guy's lights in on his truck.
I was there. I remember that. We were both in that same line.
At Lavang?
Yeah, it was like down
by Johnson's Corner?
Newtown or something, wasn't it?
It's probably happened multiple times, but the other guy ended up pulling a gun out and said, fuck you, touch my truck, I'll fucking shoot your head off. And the cop showed up and they both went to jail. It's like, you don't want to get into that level.
Yeah.
Like when it gets to that level, then it's like, no, you guys have gone too far. But the thing about men is they're very predictable. And when they're openly aggressive like that, even though it's not good to let it get that far, low levels of just open aggression are very easy to deal with. But when you're passive aggressive and you hold a grudge and it's like you piss somebody off and they don't just confront you on it, and then it starts, and then what they do is they try slowly getting back at you over the course of weeks or months. And,
that's the worst.
That's the worst.
It's
so
like
that's
prolonged pain. Just get it over with. Rip it off.
But that's the thing. That's kind of how a lot of women are. So back to my original point, the reason men and women have such a tough time working together in a lot of these trades, and that's why, women complain like, oh, but if you act like this, men just think you're a bitch or whatever. It's like when a woman is in a male-dominated industry and she does a really good job, there's something that a woman brings to the table that a man just can't replicate. Like a woman that's in a male-dominated industry, like a dispatcher, or like, just any position that's predominantly male that a female's in and she's good at her job. There's something that a woman can bring to the table that a man can't replicate. That's just so fucking nice to have when you have a woman you don't fight with. Like, the women that run the disposals that aren't bitches.
Oh yeah,
they're the best.
Like it just makes it peaceful.
Yeah, it's like you show up and there's this nice woman and she comes out and she's like, "Oh, how you doing today? I got coffee on. We got new filter socks in. This is what's been going on. We are dealing with high levels, but we just kind of do it one at a time." Like a girl that's good at her job. When they're good, they're fucking great.
I don't know.
When they're bad, it's fucking miserable. I'd way rather deal with a man that I fucking have a hard time with than a woman that I have a hard time with.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and it probably makes some sense, but I actually just don't like to work with women, and it's not like a sexist deal. I think it has a lot to do with giving shit too. Like when you're working in construction, for instance, if there's a girl on the job, everybody kind of has to more behave themselves and like watch. You know what I mean? Like it kind of takes a lot of the guy dynamic, the locker room. That's what they always call it, like the locker room talk and everything. It's not like it has to be provocative or anything. It's just that when guys are, you can joke with guys differently than you can joke with girls. I mean, you can push them around, you can shove them, you can like you're saying, you can even yell at them when they mess up, and you can give them shit. But when there's a girl, you're uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
You can kind of have like, you don't have to be as pleasant around men.
Well, yeah, that's
like
you
can show
exactly
up and be a little
at.
bit of a grump, and women are like, men will be like, Cole's on his fucking period today.
Exactly.
Yeah, fucking,
exactly,
you need a hug, Cole? Yeah, fuck you, buddy. But a woman, it's like, they take it a little bit more personal, and I don't know.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was trying to get at. Like, if there's a girl on it, you can't do that. Like, you show up, you're having a bad day or whatever, they almost take it really personally. You know what I mean? And then it's like, if a guy, it's like, quit being a bitch. Pull your pants up and get the fuck to work, and they give you shit about it or whatever, right? And they almost cheer you up in a way. But it's just a different dynamic.
Yeah, it is a different dynamic. I don't think it would restrict me from wanting to work with women, because I've worked with some really awesome women, like truly badass, amazing women. But I think the women that I've worked with that are super badass and super good to work with are the ones that understand that don't take things so personal. Yeah, it does take a certain kind of woman to not take things personal. I think it's a time thing. I think that if a woman works in a really male-dominated industry, eventually she kind of figures out that, like, hey, men deal with their problems differently than women, and you just kind of gotta like just fucking realize that you're not always gonna understand. When a guy's a grump, you may not always understand exactly where you stand with him, but like, we can still make it work, and I'm not going to make your life hell just because you're kind of because there's a lot of guys that are just assholes. But no, if you're a woman out there and you're listening to this, basically what I'm trying to say is that, and if you work with men, I think it's just important to understand that men expect to be dealt with in an aggressive manner. and if you deal with men, even if they deserve it, even if they're assholes and they deserve to be, punished, if you're passive aggressive towards a man, he's gonna resent you and hate you.
Yeah,
for all time and eternity.
A lot more than just cussing him out.
Yeah, because like I think back to some of my worst interactions with people in the oil field, like people that like I had a falling out with that I just can never work with again, and it's always passive aggressive people. It's not just women. It's passive. There's passive aggressive men out there, which are just as bad as passive aggressive.
More typically, women are passive.
Yeah, but more typically, when you get in a fight with a woman, you can never be friends with that woman again. But if you get in a fight with a man, you know, there's like an 80% chance that man's that you're going to ultimately form like a strong bond, like a strong friendship that spans, you know, time and space with that guy. Cause
Yeah,
it's just how
I don't
it works.
know. Maybe I just haven't worked with too many, and I'm not even saying that I hate seeing a girl on a job site because it's pleasant.
I definitely
It's
don't.
pleasant.
I don't have a problem with it.
There was plenty of them in the oil field that were like ran disposals and shit that were cool, you know. But I'm not like I don't have anything in particular to say about it. I just thought I didn't care one way or the other. You know what I mean? Didn't really talk to them too much. They didn't really give me shit. I didn't give them shit, and it just worked, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really even have too much an opinion on that. But all the girls that I have had to work with that were for an extended period of time, and we've actually had to deal with one another, I haven't liked it, and they haven't gone south. Like, they weren't always just bad experiences, but it made my job more edgy.
It made it harder because you had to think about like, oh, how do I make pleasant conversation with this lady while I offload?
Exactly. It was just like less. It was just harder.
Even though I'm tired of
the job,
I would rather just hook up my hoses and not fucking talk.
Exactly.
I get that too. That's true.
Yeah, that was it. So that's my experience. You know, if they stay out of your face, I couldn't care less. To go work, go be the freaking president of the United. I don't care, really. I don't. Just don't get in my face.
Yeah, don't expect me to socialize with you.
Don't expect me to socialize.
Every single load.
Just because you're a girl. And it's just, I don't know. I also feel like that's another thing, too, is like when they're a girl in a predominantly male, there's a different expectation for them, too. You know what I mean? Like, special treatment needs to be given. Whereas if it's a man, it's not. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely am not sexist, and I definitely... I appreciate what women bring to the table in a lot of things.
Say it again, though. He is definitely not sexist.
Not sexist, but I do realize that there's
Sexist.
different expectations for women, and the way they approach problems, and even the way they just approach working is different. And basically everything you said is correct, because I get that too. Like, it's something I haven't thought about. I've thought about the fact that women are passive aggressive, and when I fight with them, I never make up with them almost, and men aren't. But I didn't think about the fact that women are, like, when you show up on a well site that's like, and a female pumper's running it, it's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like, this lady's nice, and I'm glad that she, like, we're friends and we can, like, chat and, like, make casual conversation, but at the same time it's like I've been working for fucking 14 hours a day for 3 months straight without a day off, and I don't want to talk to you, and I don't want to hurt your feelings, but also, like, please fuck off.
Yeah.
That is true. That's interesting. I haven't.
Yeah, I don't know. That's me, dude. I don't deal with them too often, though. Every now and again. The other thing too, I will tell you this one other thing though that I have realized that I don't like. Girls always have something to prove, and I don't like that in a male dominated. That was the other thing that I don't really like about dealing with women in male dominated workspaces is that they always go over and beyond to prove that they can do it, and when in reality, most guys don't give a shit. You know what I mean? And I think that they think they do. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm a girl, so like they demand respect.
To be fair, a lot of men make a big deal out of it. Like, oh, you're a little
who
girl
gives a shit,
doing
though?
A job like this.
I know, but who gives a shit? This is what I'm saying. Like if you were a guy, a lot of guys give all the guys lip. That's how guys are. You know what I mean? If you're a greenie on a job site, you get made so much freaking fun of, it would make most people cry. You know what I mean? Like they tease you and they give you shit, and that's my whole point is you can do that when it's a guy, but as soon as a girl comes in and they give her some shit like, oh, you're a female out here working, then all of a sudden their feelings get hurt, or they go over and beyond to excessively prove that they belong there.
But a lot of, just to push back, a lot of men go over and be like, if a greenie gets made fun of, they go over and beyond to try and prove that, like, oh, I'm not a greenie. I know. Like, say you go do like roofing and you go roof at a company for, 3 to 5 years, and you're a good roofer, and then you go work for a different roofing company with a different crew, and they do shit differently. And they're like, well, you learned how to roof from this company. You learned to roof from ABC, and then we're CDE, and we're better. We're better, and you're like, well, fuck you. Like I was, and it's. I think it's the same with both though. Nobody likes.
It's not though. It's not though, because even if No, it's. I don't think nobody likes to be made fun of, but I think it is different because if you go to work for, you have experience and then you go to a different job site and people are giving you shit, and you're a guy, that usually kind of like you learn the dynamic of the place. You know what I mean?
It's like a length of time thing. If you work there for a month, everyone's gonna forget that you're from a different company.
Exactly. But I'm saying with a girl, my only point is it's kind of a different topic right there. My point is that girls always try to prove or demand respect instead of just letting it come. You know what I mean? Like they because they're in a male dominated society, they have like an attitude of you will respect me, or you will, like, I'm a female, and because they typically don't get that respect, you know what I mean?
I don't know about that.
I feel like that's definitely a case. Like they're always trying to show you what's up. You know what I mean? And you're just like,
I think some of them are, but I've met like a lot of really, really polite. Like I say, I've worked with some great girls in the oil field where I've been like, wow, this is such a pleasant experience, and that they don't have anything to prove. They're just like, hi, how you doing?
I know, but those are the pleasant ones. I'm not saying that it's not.
But you're saying all like girls feel like they have to.
I'm not saying all. I'm saying just that's another thing that I've noticed.
I think it's a pretty mixed bag because there's a lot of guys that are also the same way. They're like, I demand it.
Yeah,
I'm the best there is.
There definitely is a lot of guys.
I think that's pretty across the board. Honestly,
it could be. Maybe it's just a personality type. But I'm just saying, I don't know. I definitely have seen it more in girls than I have in guys, and I'm not saying that it probably does happen. I've just seen it more, and
maybe you notice it more.
Maybe I do notice it more.
Maybe it's because you're sexist.
Maybe it is.
You look at women differently than men. You son of a
Well,
bitch.
I do though. They're different. You know, everybody.
That's probably why they all feel the need to prove that they're the same.
Everybody, but they're different though. They're not the same. My point is that if you can be a female and go into a male-dominated society and be a female, and
well,
just
now you're saying society, not like.
Oh no, I'm saying a male-dominated industry. I'm sorry, I said society, industry.
Okay.
Male-dominated industry, and you can be confident in the fact that you're a female. You know what I mean? 100%, and you don't have nothing to prove. It's a pleasure, but when you're trying to prove something, it actually makes you seem like you're the out of place.
Yeah.
More because you're trying to prove something now. You get what I'm saying?
I do, but I think that's kind of with both men. I don't think it's specific just to women. I agree that like it's annoying when women come in. They're like, I'm the big boss bitch. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But like, there's men that come in. They're like, well, I'm the big dog. I've been doing this for 15 years, and when I was your age, I could run circles around. Like that guy. It's like, hey, fuck you, dude.
That guy is
care.
Probably the most annoying.
Out of the two, I think I'd almost rather deal with the
that is 100% true. I'm just saying it is really annoying because like I've had one experience and it wasn't even on a job site, but it was just with a feminist, and it just annoyed me so fucking bad.
Well, no one likes feminists. Feminists.
I know, but
like
that's
feminists.
kind of where I'm kind of getting at with this is like that whole feminist attitude, because like trying to prove that you're as strong as men are, you're as capable as men are at things that you're not, and it's like, hey, women are more capable than men are in a lot of areas,
for sure,
but not when it comes to physical. And like men, it's just we're different. Fucking accept it. You know what I mean? Like you're not the same. You can't do what guys do. Guys can't do what you do. You're different.
Well,
and
that's
own
not, that. Yeah, because I don't know. I think that's oversimplifying, because there's a lot of women that can do more things physically better than you or I ever could. Like the best.
No, that's not oversimplifying it, because it's called. You're taking 8 billion people.
The best female bodybuilder in the world could wipe the floor with both of us.
Oh yeah, together.
100%.
But it don't mean that I, as an untrained individual, couldn't beat 80% of the women out there. You know what I mean? Like right, legit.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? That's your
Cole over here just thinking about beating 80% of the women.
No, I'm not. Okay, don't.
I'm just kidding.
Don't take it the wrong way. We're talking about guys are just born to do bigger. Like, and my point to saying that was like that there was a girl that we were hiking with, right? And I won't forget it. It was just a funny interaction, but she was holding up the whole gang. Everybody in the group was trying to go on this picnic or whatever up this mountain, and there's this one girl that wanted to carry up this huge watermelon we had, right? And all the guys were like, hey, we literally see her over there tripping over herself, and she's a little girl too, and she's over there tripping over herself, can barely haul this thing, and the guys are like, hey, can I help you? I'll haul that for you. No, I can haul it, whatever. I'm fine by myself. And they're like, hey, screw it. And they walk away, and everybody keeps going on. But then the whole group is waiting on her, like actually sitting down, like kind of waiting for her to catch up. And it got annoying. And they're like, holy shit, somebody go and take that from her so we can freaking get to the point, And so somebody went back over there and was like, hey, let me haul it for you. And she got pissed at him. Like, I'm a girl. You guys think that you can just haul it just because you guys are guys. And
okay, but that's like a.
And I was just like,
that
it hurts me.
98% of all the girls I've ever met, if you try and do something nice for them, like carry something that's a little bit too heavy for, they're like, "Oh my God, you're so sweet." Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Is like that's like a specific example.
I know, and I was just bringing up that
struggling.
example.
She's probably a little bit insecure, and she's probably trying to prove herself, and that's not a big deal. That's just like it's like an outlier. Most women would prefer to be.
And the women that would prefer it, but this is where I'm talking about it because this is a pretty trendy topic right now as far as women can do what men can do and men can do what women can do. Fuck, we're actually getting to the point in our society where we're talking about men can get pregnant now. Like, that's how bad it's gone.
Haven't you?
Yeah, haven't you heard?
It's obvious.
That's my point. Like, it's so moronic to me. It's like if you get a girl that's really confident in her femininity, then it's a pleasure. You know what I mean? It's literally like, even if it's in a workspace.
To certain men, but some men prefer more. We're kind of getting into the weeds here. I get what you're saying. The only point I just like to clarify, the only point that I was really trying to make from the beginning was just that.
Well, you can cut out this whole freaking section.
No, we're not.
Here.
It's fine. It's not. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but we're getting into the weeds on men and female behavior, and we're kind of oversimplifying here. But where I was really going with this to begin with was just that men and women deal with conflict differently.
Yeah.
But when my experience, when they're good, they're great, and when they're bad, it's just
terrible.
It's the worst.
Yep.
I got to take a pee really bad.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, you need to get some better chairs over here. My ass hurts.
I do. Well, I'm putting a couch right there and a coffee table and all the shit. It's gonna be so legit. Yeah,
this chair's like sitting just on hardwood. But what was the question? Now that we're back on record here.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't wait another 5 months to do a podcast, so I just had to start cranking them out. But okay, so before we wrap this thing up, I just wanted to ask you, because this is kind of because I wasn't able to explain myself very well at the beginning of the conversation. But what I want to ask you about is what do you... I like to talk about things that people could get involved with and things that could directly affect people and things that if people really gave a shit about, they could go see and interact with directly. You know what I mean? But I was going to ask you, what do you think about North Dakota? How long have you lived here?
Oof, I've been here like 6 years, 7 years?
7 years? It's been longer than that.
I think it's been 7 years.
So when you first came up here, is that when you first came up here with your dad?
It's been almost 8 years.
To do construction?
Yeah.
And you guys lived in that little...
No, I didn't really count that because we just came up here and I was only like, 15? And I came up here, we did a job or two and then went back. Oh. But since I moved out, which was a year later, and I came up here, I actually went to Minnesota first, but probably 7 years, 7.5. But yeah, then we went to Minnesota for a few months and then immediately went to Crosby.
So Crosby was the first town you moved to when you moved up here?
Yeah, Crosby.
And where did you move to in Crosby? What were you doing?
What do you mean? Crosby's a small town, Doc.
Yeah, but were you living across the road from the Red Rooster?
Oh, yeah. Remember that same house that you lived in?
I lived there for like 6 months.
Yeah, so that was the first time I moved there. I was working with Chase and Sterling for a little bit there.
How old were you?
I was 16.
16? Mm-hmm. Okay, I remember that. And how long, because you go back and forth between here and Utah, here in Mexico, and you have other projects going on, but like you keep ending up back here.
Yeah, it's a little Sleepy Hollow. I tell you what, you can't get away from it.
I've tried. Can check out, but you can never leave.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously it's because this is where the money's at, and it's where we've learned to make money really well. That's why I live here.
No, 100%. That's why I've tried going to Utah. Tried starting something else. Tried doing a little carpenter shop down there. Tried doing whatever. Stick my hand in a pie, but it didn't work. It doesn't work out just because. I'm not going to say it doesn't, because I'm sure I could make it work. So that's a bad choice of words there. But it's just easy here, dude. It's just what you know. You know what I mean? You get up here, you live, you learn something, you learn a trade, you get used to it. You
build business contacts.
Yeah, exactly. You get contacts, and then you try to move and you try to restart, and it's just so hard. You're just like, screw it. You know, I go back to North Dakota in the morning, and I wouldn't have to start fresh. I know everybody.
Immediately start making money.
Yep, exactly. So why not?
So, and obviously we could go in and spend forever talking about like, oh, you got to the grass isn't greener on the other side. You just got to make it work where you're at, whatever. What's your overall opinion on North Dakota? Because it sounds like you'd never move here.
No, I don't know. It's not a hard question, but I've never really given it too much thought. I don't really like North Dakota in general. As far as the weather goes, it's probably some of the shittiest weather I've ever had to deal with in my life. Mm-hmm. People here, the locals are actually really awesome. I really love the locals. They're pleasant, but there's too many people like me that aren't local here, and usually they're the assholes.
And they don't want to get involved with building a community because they're
exactly.
like you. They don't
want to live here. So I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
You know, I can admit that. It's just, there's so many people from everywhere. So there's not really a sense of community here at all. And, but more than anything, I just think that this town just doesn't, or North Dakota, I don't know about Fargo and Minot and bigger cities, but like Williston and Crosby and those little places, they're so tiny and they don't really have much to offer, and they don't really grow at all. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't want to raise kids here. You know what I mean? That's why I would say that I wouldn't want to end up here. It's not because of the work or anything like that. If I was single, it'd be fine. You know, the grass isn't ever greener, so why not? Mm-hmm. But as far as raising a family goes, I wouldn't want to raise a family here.
Because you don't think there's a community and the weather.
Well, yeah, the weather's shit for me, but then there's no community here.
I think this has been described, and I'm probably misquoting it, but people call this like a big city in a little town, because it's kind of like you go to one of these big cities like New York or LA or Chicago, and it's just so many people you could not build a community, and they're just coming and going. And
yeah, that's actually a really good way to describe it.
And in Williston, it's like there's not that many people. Like I don't know what the actual population is, but let's just say it's like 40,000 or something. Yeah. So it's a very small little town, but many people live here that are not committed to living here, that it feels like you don't really build connections here.
Exactly.
A lot of times.
You know, even the guys that you know here, like even all my contacts, they are not even from here. You know what I mean? They come here, they do work, they know homeowners, they have big, huge companies here, and then they leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's like I'm one of the only, I mean, I'm not the only, but I'm one of the only LeBarons I know up here that actually bought a house.
Yeah.
Like, who buys a house? There's people,
exactly. You know,
there's
most
people up here
of
worth tens of millions of dollars that have been here for a decade plus that still live in apartments because they just won't buy.
Yeah, because they think they're getting out of here at some point.
And they don't. A lot of times. I mean, it might just happen now that I bought the house. Finally, everyone's just going to leave for good.
Yeah.
Which it seems like it is, because since I moved, just in the month or two that I've lived in Williston, I've already had, two really good buddies that are leaving. David and Sterling are both. Sterling already left. David's moving, allegedly. And then Spencer is saying he's going to leave in about a month or two. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of a bummer because I moved here. But like, I don't base my life off what other people are doing. And
yeah, it does suck though. Like some of your friends are getting out of town now.
Yeah, and like you.
But at Sleepy Hollow, dude, they'll be back. Don't worry.
At some point, yeah, no. Well, at some point you'll leave and you'll probably never come back. But then like I keep on like, oh, Cole moved out of town. I'm bummed out, and then you're back, and I'm like, all right, that says it so bad. I'm kind of I wouldn't say a fair weather friend because it sounds like I don't make that much time for my
Let me
friends.
ask you about like North Dakota. Who in their right mind grows up as a kid and thinks, I want to go live in a place where the wind is always blowing? If it ain't 100-mile-an-hour wind, it's raining its ass off. If it ain't raining, it's boiling fucking hot. There is no in between. Okay, you have the worst winters and you have the hottest summers, and that's all you have. And nobody thinks, oh, that's paradise. I want to retire there, right? This is a place to come, make money, and do something else with and go retire somewhere. Because you don't want to retire here. So saying like living here long term is nobody's goal, but it is a really good place to make money.
I mean, if global warming ever actually happens, this is going to be a great place to live.
Yeah, if
but
that does happen.
So to answer your question, there are definitely people out here that love it and will live here their entire lives, that are obsessed. Truly,
but that's just people that were born and raised here. And they
No,
have
there's some
connections.
people that were born in Crosby that are obsessed with Williston too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're born North Dakota.
Okay, so there are people that are from out of town that move here and like it and want to spend the rest of their life here. But I do agree it is the minority for sure. But there are, I think, people that aren't bothered by the weather as much.
How could you not be bothered by negative 60?
Some people don't care. Some people are truly just like, the weather's fine. I have no problem with the weather.
Oh, that's weird. I have such a problem. Maybe it's just because I've been doing roofing lately, and it's oh my god.
But there's people that live in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, and I'm like, why would somebody live
exactly
out there?
Though?
Or like in Alaska, which Alaska, every place has things to offer, and I'm not trying to make this like a doom and gloom thing. There are things about Williston and North Dakota that I absolutely love. The politics are pretty decent.
Oh yeah. The
I
laws
agree
are
with
great.
the politics. Nobody.
But you could go to Texas and have almost the exact same laws. You could get to they're almost the same.
But it's definitely a different environment because I moved to Texas last year, and it's a different type of place.
Like what though? Like what part of Texas did you move to? Was it Austin?
I moved to Austin, but I traveled through a bunch of Texas, and I've lived in Texas before. I lived in the Panhandle, and I went down to Odessa and.
But don't you feel like it was
Midland.
a beautiful place? Like, hey, you could see yourself retiring there. No.
Maybe yes or no. Every place has its upsides and its downsides. That's the thing. I'm not so much trying to say, oh, North Dakota's shit and other places are better, or even that North Dakota's better and other places are shit. I guess I'm more just asking you, as somebody that is like, spent a lot of your formative years here, from when you were 16. I actually came here at 15, but from 16 till now, you've lived here. And you have no intention of continuing to live here, and yet this is the focal point of so many people's lives. I just think it's an interesting situation.
No, it is definitely really interesting, but like we'd all would have been better off just biting the bullet and saying, hey, we're going to live here, like you were saying before. When we were in the kitchen, like buy a house, act like you're going to be here for the next 10 years.
Do you think at a certain point you'll say, okay, well, I haven't bit the bullet yet, so therefore
I'm biting the bullet now.
You're buying a house here?
No, I'm just trying to finish what you were saying. Is that what you're getting at? Like, hey, just might as well start now?
Not necessarily, because I'm not trying to give you advice and tell you to start now. I've decided that I wanted to buy a house. I told myself last fall, I said, Gilbert, in 6 months, I'm absolutely positive you're going to have your life together and you're going to figure out where you want to live, and you're going to sail off into the sunset, and you're going to go fucking make it happen. I believe in you, brother. It's going to happen. So in 6 months, you're going to have enough money. You're going to go buy a property somewhere, and life's going to be good. But if for whatever reason you don't have your life figured out and you don't know where you want to live in 6 months, you're buying a house next spring, come hell or high water, no matter what. And I said, if I still live here in North Dakota, then I'm just going to buy one here in North Dakota. So I just made that commitment to myself and did it. It's not like I just suddenly woke up one day and was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's buy a house. It was like, okay, I told myself I was going to. I don't want to buy it anywhere else, so I'll just buy it here. But more than anything, I guess I'm wondering, because at some point after not biting the bullet for long enough, do you think eventually you'll bite the bullet and just settle down and buy something here? Or do you think there'll come a point in life where you're going to say, you know what? I can't keep going back to North Dakota. I just have to make it work somewhere else.
Definitely. I'm going to make it work somewhere else. I'm not ever going to be in North Dakota for permanently.
That was my question.
Yeah, I most definitely won't be here permanently, even if I'm here for another 5 years. Honestly, if I have to work here with the whole dream of getting out until I die, that's how I'll die. Okay. People
do that though. That's the thing. There's tons of people that have been like, I'm getting it no matter what, and then they don't do it.
I know. So if I have to be one of those people that gets buried here with the dream of leaving, then I will, I guess. But no, I just don't like it, dude. I just don't like it here. I love I love the money. And that's the only reason I'm here. Even though, like, what's funny is I even have a lot of family here and whatnot, right? But the fun you have here isn't anything like the adventure that you have here isn't anything compared to even like when I go to Utah. I go to Utah every winter, right?
But to interject, is a lot of that the fact that when you're here, you're work oriented, so you don't take the time to enjoy the little things.
That's obviously a big part of it, but and I'm sure you can have fun no matter where you're at in life. So yeah, I do think that is a really big part of it. It's like, yeah, when you're here, you're here to work, and when I go to Utah, I'm just down there to get through the winter, right? So we end up doing a lot of cool shit. But I do think it's also different because like when I was down there, I had my brother with me and my brother-in-law, whatever, and we just tried doing some new things. We tried getting into Airbnbs, you know, those wagons that we were building. Yeah, we tried doing some cool shit, and it worked out. It was fun. And I would like to do things like that, like come up here and work to make money, and then try using that money to set something up in a place that is like Utah, that's really hard to get into quick money, right? That's the problem with where everybody wants to retire is almost impossible to make quick money.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have shit tons of money to even start. So like, let's say you want to go down to St. George and I wanted to get into construction or something. Everybody does that already. There's so much competition down there. It's retarded. So that's why it's always driven me back here. Like there's no competition up here. It's easy to make money. It actually pays a lot more than it does down there. So why not? You know, supply and demand is there's so few supply up here that you can name your price. So come up here, make the money, and then set something up like rentals, or set something up down there to where I can move out of here and go down there. And then I'm not competing for anything down there in a place that I enjoy. You know what I mean? So, and St. George is just the perfect place because it's summer all year long and you can just play golf all year. You know, golf course is never close.
Yeah, that's great. That's interesting. I think that's how everyone feels. And that's really what I wanted to know. I guess for the way I look at it, just to wrap this up, is I've lived in Williston about 5 years. And I came to North Dakota same as you when I was 16 for the first time. And after 8 years of coming up here and 5 years of living here, I still don't know if I like it or not. But it feels kind of like home, and it's a weird.
It definitely feels like home. Holy shit!
When I came back to Wilson after being gone for 7 months, or actually it wasn't even 7, it was actually like 5. But for being gone last summer and coming back, it was like, oh my god, this is like my hometown.
I swear that feeling is really weird because it's such like a love-hate feeling towards the place, and I have that so many times. When I came back up last time too, same thing. Like after all said and done down there, you know, being down there for like 4 or 5 months, all the little stupid shit we did, I was like, hey, it's time to get back to work. We need to go make some real money. So we come back up here, and as soon as I pull into Williston, it was just like, it was almost like, you know, this is where you belong. You're back. Like, you know, like this is where such a homey feeling.
This is where I dated my wife. This is where I got married. This is where I had my first kid. This is where I'll have my second kid. This is where I started my first like legitimate successful business. My first legitimate success. Actually, my first and second legitimate successful business.
The third with the podcast.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I haven't looked at it as a business yet, but yeah, and it's like so many amazing, magical things have happened up here in North Dakota. Not to sound like too cliche, but North Dakota is a place where have made so many dreams come true for so many people over the years.
Yeah, money
wise, but it's also just been a place where some people have walked away and just felt like, wow, that was just this big, huge fucking, you know, because you talk to some people, especially people that get out during the bus times and lose everything because people have, you know, they've walked away with nothing. There's so many people that have spent years up here and walked away with nothing for whatever reason, either because they didn't save or they didn't have a plan or whatever. It's such a love-hate thing. I think it's such an interesting town, but I'm going to start asking more people that because I think, you know, one of the things that would be important to me to have a record of is just the things that happen here that a lot of people experience. And a lot of people, you know, that have been here know, but I don't think most people know what it's like to live in a boomtown.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's interesting for sure.
Grow up in a boomtown almost a little bit. Become a man in a boomtown. That's really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good topic to have with everybody. I think that you can have a lengthy conversation about what it's like to grow up in a boomtown or whatever, you know. You don't really it's like you said before, I think it was pretty on the money there it's a big city in a small town. That's what it feels like, you know.
I don't think I came up with, I think I heard that somewhere for the record.
Oh, well,
but I think it's sad.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty accurate depiction of what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's just busy 24/7. Everybody's busting and
it's nonstop. If you're not here to work, what are you doing here?
exactly. And that's all everybody always talks about. That's there's like no relaxation. There's no sense of like we were saying there of community. Like, hey, I made neighbors. I got friends with my neighbors. Random strangers. Like the people that you came up here with are the only ones you'll know in this town. You know what I mean? I think literally I've been here for 8 years and I have not made a single friend that wasn't my friend before I came up here. Legit.
I've made a couple, but
really, I haven't made one. And I think the closest I've gotten with somebody is Megan at the coffee shop. Okay, with over at C Cups.
Wait,
shout out for
Megan at C Cups.
Yeah.
Hold on, does she have like a bunch of tattoos?
Yeah.
And like, did she have dyed red hair? She's the one that had that golden retriever. We talked about Megan, huh?
No, it's that's a
different Megan.
That's a different girl. No, that was her name was that was a different girl.
But I sold her a golden retriever.
Did you?
Yeah. Was
well,
it
I
that
don't know
Megan
if you,
or is it a different?
I don't know
Megan?
if you at C Cups.
Does she have a golden
retriever? She's the only. I don't know. I haven't seen a golden retriever,
Okay.
but I'm saying she's the only Megan at C Cups.
Well, I sold this girl a
makes
golden retriever.
At Megan?
Yeah, Megan. Well, I didn't know. She told me, she's like, yeah, my name's Megan. I work at C Cup. She came over with her boyfriend. And it's funny because ever since I sold that girl a golden retriever, I have not seen her a day since then, but she always pops up. Like
I see her every single day at C Cups.
Well, I'll go see if it's the same one, see if your dog is with her still.
I'll ask her next time. She's the only one that knows how to make my coffee. You know what I mean? Like legit, I've been to every single coffee shop in town and nobody makes my coffee. And like I was just saying, my point was I haven't made a single friend here, dude, in the 8 years, like good friend. If they weren't somebody that I knew before I came up here or just a friend of the family or something, you know what I mean? They're whatever, like a cousin.
Yeah.
But I haven't made no new connections with random strangers except for maybe Megan, just because I see her and it's not even like we're friends. We're not even friends. But it's just that I see her almost every single day to get a cup of coffee. So now it's more of a pleasantry of just, hi, how you doing? What's up? You know, like that's it. And that's about the most human interaction that I have with a random stranger consistently in this town.
Interesting. I say I have like a handful of people that are my friends that like even after I moved away I still kept in touch with a little bit. But no, I get that. And I think a lot of that is just that you have such a big family and you already have so many people you're connected to that are around you that you don't need to go out and make friends, but I think, you know, a lot of people can fall into that, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a lot to do with the town because I went to St. George and it was immediate. I have tons of family, and when I go down there, I made tons of friends. I mean, we'd go out dancing, we'd go out, you know, just doing tons of cool things. Like you'd run into random people, and they'd just be like, "Hey, you know, we're going hiking up the canyon. You want to come?" And they're like, "Yeah, hell yeah." Run into a random group of guys that were out golfing one time, and they're like, "Hey, you know, we're golfing next. Do you want to golf with us?" And we golfed with them. And then all of a sudden they'd be like, "Yeah, you want to come out here next weekend and golf?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, you know, it sounds like fun." So we do that, you know, and you make random friends down there because everybody's more, I don't know, it's just a different a lookout on life. Like they're there to hang out, make connections, you know what I mean? Like it's just a different vibe that's going on.
Yeah.
When you're up here, everybody's just with their day, what they got going on. They're up here just to work. They're not here to even say hi. You know what I mean? They're just getting in their trucks, they're driving, they're hauling their loads to buy a plane ticket to get out of here. You know what I mean? Nobody gives a shit about sitting down and smelling the roses and saying hello.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's has a lot of truth to it. But okay, homie. Well, I'm glad we did this.
Peace, brother.
We'll catch you next time.
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on. Do you want anyone to find you? Do you want anyone to follow you?
No.
Do you want to give your home address so people can come knock on your door and say?
No, I'm actually changing my number after this.
All right, sounds good. Bye.
See ya.